Hey, hello everyone. This is Gonzalo Herrero, your friendly neighborhood biohacker and behavioral optimization specialist. And today we are doing a short video that was asked by a friend of mine to explain, well, how is it that you did what you did? How does it work? And it's so easy to dive into details. So I created this video as a literally a very simple intro to what is involved in the methodology that we teach here at Rise 41 for people to transform. This is the same methodology that I used myself to lose 80 pounds 7 years ago, keep it off. My wife did the same. She lost almost 70 pounds, keeps it off, is in great shape. So hopefully, this is something that will benefit all of you. And again, the idea, let me explain what this is for and what this is not for. This is not an exhaustive guide in any way, shape, or form. The idea here is to have something that explains the why we do what we do and how we do it at a high level. There are different videos in the series that I've already put out and will continue to put out that dive into detail into every one of these sections and what it is that's involved and how it works and so forth. So again, the idea here is for you to understand the methodology. It's to explain the methodology, the framework, and the tools that we use, and the processes that we use, and why we do them. Hopefully, if that piques your interest, you can dive in deeper. We have a free guide. There are links at the bottom that you can go out and get. It is literally free. All you have to do is put in your, I think it's your email, and it'll be sent out as a PDF to you. So now that we've established what we're trying to do here, let's just dive right in. Keep it friendly, keep it casual. If you have questions, comments, anything, please put those comments in under this video. Hit like, subscribe, the usual, and I will be glad to create either a follow-up video that explains or answers some of your questions and comments. I'd love to do that, or I'd reply to the comments in line here, be it on YouTube or at Spotify, depending on where it is that you consume this video. So, okay, without further ado, let's quick little introduction here. Most people fail at fitness because they jump into the deep end without learning how to swim. And this video is your floaty. This is your jetpack and you slap in the face so that you get it right from the start, okay? So at least understand what it is that you're getting into, and in a way that's easy, reproducible, and that will not be intimidating to you in any way, shape, or form. So, who is this for? Anyone who feels overwhelmed by fitness advice. You've tried and failed. You simply don't know where to begin. Whether you're overweight, skinny, fat, you're just tired of guessing. You've heard this, that, and the other thing. It's all disjointed. This is your new roadmap, okay? That's exactly what we're trying to do with this video. Just a quick roadmap so that you understand what's involved. And what you'll learn, we're going to break down into the core 5 pillars of what we do: how to eat, recover, train, move, and optimize. And you're going to walk away knowing exactly what matters. What are the big rocks that make big change versus the smaller details that may provide some change, but they're good add-ons later. Think of those as the icing on the cake. Hopefully, I'm teaching you how to bake that cake, right? So you have that foundation. So the first piece of this entire puzzle is nutrition. So let's talk about energy balance. So calories in versus calories out, that's not a myth. That's a real thing. It's the first law of body transformation. You have to understand what your total daily energy expenditure is, and you can unlock your ability to lose fat or build muscle on command. So what is TDEE? So this is the amount of calories that you burn in a day through your activity, the total amount. There are many calculators and estimators you can find if you Google TDE estimator, so that at least you have a baseline of understanding what those calories are. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this video to get into the nuances of this calorie burn. It's even though, yes, the laws of thermodynamics apply here, you also have to understand that the body is a very complex system. So there are a lot of subtleties and changes and things that can affect that TDEE as we go. But more on that later. Again, the important concept is for you to figure out and understand what your TDEE is so that you can start thinking of, these are the calories I need in order to stay alive at the weight I'm at, so that then you can decide how many calories you're going to take off or reduce if you're interested in losing fat, in a healthy way. Or say you're somebody who's skinny who wants to gain muscle mass, lean muscle mass, you're going to need to eat in a slight surplus. But it's important for you to understand your initial, that baseline, that TDEE. Next concept that we will explain, and again, remember, you want more detail, go to the other videos in this series and you'll get more details about nutrition. Module 1 talks about nutrition. But another concept that's important, protein is king. Protein helps build muscle and keeps you full, making it your best friend whether you're cutting or bulking. Okay, again, doesn't matter if you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, protein is your friend. And you want to aim, again, guideline, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of desired body weight, your final body weight, and spread it across the day. So in my case, I tend to eat a little bit higher in protein because I do weight lift and so forth. I'm trying to build muscle at this phase. So I'm keeping my daily protein at about 1.1, 1.2 grams, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't sweat the small stuff, per pound of like desired body weight. And so currently I think I have it at 220. I currently weigh 200 pounds, so a little bit more, a little bit more than 200 pounds. I'm 200 pounds at probably, if I had to guess, I'm probably 12% body fat right now, anywhere between 11, 13, somewhere in there. So that's the amount of protein that I need in order to maintain and or grow this muscle mass that I'm trying to like slowly, progressively grow as I go through my training regimen. Next thing to understand, carbs and fats. Okay, these are not the enemy. They're energy sources, all right? Carbs, again, we're going to keep it high level. They'll fuel your training and your recovery, while fats will support your hormone and brain health. So both important, and balance them according to your preferences and goals. This is where the type of diet that might work for you, there's different flavors of diets and styles. You can go like carnivore, there's keto, there's Mediterranean diet, etc. All of these, we have some variation of how they handle these macros, how many carbs versus fats you consume. But remember, again, protein is king. So carbs and fats work together with that protein, right? To either refuel and or help maintain that hormonal brain balance. So important. Another thing to not stress about is meal timing and meal timing myths. You don't need 6 meals a day to stop eating at 7 p.m. or any of that. What matters most, what's really important, this is 95% of it, is your total intake and hitting those macros consistently. That's really, truly, again, we're talking about the big rocks, the things that make a lot of movement, the things that if you put them on a scale will move that scale. So again, don't stress about meal timing yet. Eventually, once you're like super optimized and you know everything there is to know about macros and all that, sure, you can go in there and like optimize your meal timing, and you eat like 30 minutes before you go work out and have a workout meal and that. But again, there's no need to worry about that at this level. If you're just starting, just make sure that timing is not quite as important. What is important is your total intake and hitting those macros that we discussed before. Next, another concept that you're going to have to work with, tracking versus intuitive eating. So tracking, of course, it's you write down what you eat and how many calories and what it is and so forth, and you keep a log, and that way it keeps you accountable and you can see that you're hitting your macros and your caloric targets. Versus intuitive eating, which is where you don't track that and you have an idea of what it is that you should eat in order, if you want to like gain, lose weight, etc., maintain whatever it is. But tracking, it's like training wheels, right? Because it'll teach you your portion sizes, especially if you're new to this. You might not know yet, really, or have a good idea of what a serving size is, or like, what does 8 ounces of chicken look like? Well, you might be surprised. So by tracking carefully and diligently, you'll start learning those portion sizes for those meals. The food values, how to hit your targets. Eventually you'll come up with meals, hopefully, that you like, that you can repeat, and that you'll be able to hit your targets consistently, because this is all about consistency. It's not about perfection. It's about trying to be as consistent as you can every single day as you go through the process, rather than aim for perfection. If you don't get it, oh no, I've ruined it. don't think of it that way. Just be consistent and keep aiming for that target. More likely than not, you'll get it most times. As long as you do that, as you get it most of the time right, you'll be fine. Uh, so once you're dialed in, after a period, and you'll know okay, so I know what that piece of chicken looks like. I know how much rice I need to eat. I know how many veggies I need to consume. I know how much dressing to put on my salad. That's when you can start intuitive eating, right? Because now you have an idea. Now uh, you can gauge roughly where you are, what you need, and so forth. Now, I'll be honest. For me, I actually find it so easy with a calorie tracking app that I've been using for years to track my progress that I can be very precise with it, and it takes very little effort. But it's up to you. Just know that you can absolutely teach yourself to get to a point where you can intuitively eat to either gain, lose, or maintain weight. It just requires you to train yourself a little bit with the caloric counting and tracking at first, so that again you learn. It's a learning process. Let's see, couple quick little hacks that you can use for nutrition, just to mention them. So, batch cooking your proteins. I do this every Sunday. I'll grill out and prepare my little Tupperwares and so forth. I'll measure my food out, have it in the fridge and or freezer, depending on how much I'm putting together. This way, it takes the guesswork out of my tracking. It's done all at once. It's also easier to be successful because you're not surprised. You don't catch yourself in a situation where, like, oh shoot, I don't have my food, I haven't measured it, I'm hungry, I gotta eat, and now you're unsure. So again, these little details help ensure success. Pre-portion your snacks, same thing. Pre-measure. Again, when I have this snack, I'm having 100, 200 calories or whatever it is. Write it down in my logbook. Good to go. Um, Let's see. Try and eat similar meals throughout the week because, again, repetition, yes, it's boring. And this is hard for some people. Like, for example, for my wife, it's very hard. She does not like leftovers or repeating food. It's a bit of a challenge for her. So she has to be really careful with her planning, but she does it, and it works for her. In my case, I can eat the same stuff on repeat. I have like probably 4 or 5 different meals that I eat 90% of the time, that are my daily meals, and they're still delicious. They're just the same thing, 4 or 5 times, like chicken and rice. Pork chops with applesauce is another one that I like sweet potatoes. I like baked potatoes, depending. I go light on the butter. I don't do sour cream or any of that stuff, but if I did, I just measure it with my macros and make it fit. I have scrambled eggs almost every day for breakfast. Again, repeating this takes the guesswork out of it and frees up your mind, makes it stress free. And then you reduce that decision fatigue, right? And keep you on track. When your motivation is low, you can fall back to like what is tried and true. You know it, your motivation is low, but it's already ready for you. Boom, easy. You don't make bad decisions. All right, that takes care of the overview of how we approach nutrition. And like I said, there's a module 1 video that where we dive into detail as to how to properly do this, like with far more detail. So if you're interested, hit the link and check that out. Now, the second piece of this, rest and recovery. This is important. Why is sleep quality over quantity important? And we're talking about sleep, actual quality. It isn't just for rest. This is when you recover and growth happens. If you're exercising, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing any kind of athletic activity to hopefully get in shape, cardio, intense cardio, whatever it is, this is when you're going to recover. So even if you get your 8 hours, poor quality sleep will sabotage your fat loss and your muscle growth and your mental sharpness. So it's important to have good quality of sleep. So let's talk about sleep hygiene, which may be a concept that's new to some people. Go to bed at the same time, for example. That's basic, so that you can get your circadian rhythm to kind of sync. So getting into that habit of going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, it's also good because again, your body starts adapting to that process. It knows when to expect rest. It knows when to expect to get up. This affects your rest, your hormonal balance, all kinds of things. So Um, Kill blue lights before bed. I usually tell people if you're going to be doing the apps or whatever, which I don't recommend you do at least an hour or two before you actually try to go to sleep, get blue light blockers. Just about every modern glass company will have a filter or something they can apply on. Like these are like my regular everyday glasses. They have blue light blocking filter on it. This is super useful at night, especially when you're trying to rest, because blue light will activate your brain and tell it needs to be awake, it needs to be more alert. It will prevent you from starting the process of full rest. So it'll tank your recovery if you do that. Um, Another thing, keeping your room cool and dark. Get blackout shades, cheap. Go to Walmart, go to Target, go to Home Depot, whatever. Just get some blackout shades if you need to. Make sure that room of yours is nice and dark, because nothing will wreck your sleep more than light coming in from the outside when it's not time to wake up yet. Also, keep it cool. Scientifically proven, 65, 67 degrees, somewhere in there. It's how cold. Some people like it even colder. It will promote more restorative recovery and better sleep. So definitely, that's something else to keep in mind. Keeping that room nice and cool, so that your body can rest even better. You can optimize your sleep. And these little habits all compounded, they make a huge difference over time on your recovery. You can always track it with for my birthday recently, last week, I got one of these Aura rings. It's one way to track it. It's easy. There's a million. Garmin makes bio tracking or biometric tracking health devices, etc. There's a million of them. The Aura ring is one. I think there's one called Ultra Gear, maybe like a competitor for the Aura ring. Apple Watches, you can do a lot of, if you're comfortable enough. I got the ring because I can't sleep with a watch. I just can't do it. But that's one way to kind of track your metrics, right? And see if you're getting that restorative sleep and figure out if there's something that you can optimize. Um, Next, on the rest and recovery topic, stress management. Stress management 101, basic stuff. Chronic stress will increase your cortisol, which will wreck your sleep and tank your recovery again. So, ways to reduce that stress: walk daily, breathe deeply, meditate, find a chill activity to decompress, be it reading, a hobby, something like that. These are all breath management techniques, meditation. All of these are ways to help manage stress when possible, because stress is part of life. Let's face it, no one has a stress-free existence. That's, or if you do, I envy you. But most people have stress in some way, be it family, work, life, commitments, all that. So finding ways to manage and deal with that stress, excuse me, is going to benefit you greatly. Um, Another thing to keep in mind: overtraining versus under recovering. So you're not overtraining for 3 sessions a week in average, which is what I recommend. Like if you're doing resistance training, which I recommend you integrate as part of your lifestyle, at least twice, preferably 3 times a week for most people. Um, you're If you're training 2 to 3 times, odds are you're not going to be overtraining unless you really overdo it, and you'll know what's too much. Again, there are videos in the series that you can check out for the podcast, where we talk a little bit about training, overtraining, and weight resistance and so forth, or exercise as a whole. Um, what happens there is not that you're training too hard; it's that you're not resting properly, so you're under recovering. Because if you don't sleep, if you don't eat properly and manage stress, you're going to train hard, but it's going to make it harder to recover. So you have to remember, train hard, but recover harder so that you can actually continue training and progressing, rather than ending up fighting against yourself and your habits. And then last, rest days. Rest days don't mean laziness, okay? They're part of the plan. So active recovery, like walking or mobility work, a hike, an easy bike ride, say, a yoga class, something like that. You can keep that blood flowing and letting those muscles rebuild, right? Again, optimizing, making sure that you're taking advantage of that active rest day. Okay, so that's it for the overall look at rest and recovery. Now, third pillar, and this is my favorite: even though they're all important. But this one is near and dear to my heart because I'm boring and this is what I do. So, and it's resistance training. Let's talk about some basics, some concepts regarding resistance training or weightlifting. And here we're talking about resistance training and weightlifting for the application of health and fitness and longevity. We're not talking about bodybuilding here. We're talking about how to approach it from a optimizing myself, becoming more fit and healthier perspective. So, first concept, lifting equals body recomposition. So you want to look toned. I hate that word, but there it is. Athletic, jacked, whatever you want to call it. You're gonna need to like build muscle and lose fat. And lifting is really the way you do both. Cardio has its place, but cardio is not how you get jacked. I will talk about that in a minute. The way to get jacked, to get toned, is to lose fat and build muscle. And that's where resistance training comes in. Okay? So that's really, really important for you to keep in mind. Another concept to keep in mind, the whole idea of the full body training or resistance training versus split. So for beginners, and even advanced people, I would argue, because I still do this, full body workouts 3 times a week probably offer more bang for your buck. As you get stronger, depending on your goals and what approach, you can try different modalities. There's push pull legs, there's upper and lower splits, uh, push pull splits. There are a variety of different approaches. But for now, what I would recommend to somebody starting out is a full body workout 2 or 3 times a week as appropriate. And it's beyond the scope of this video to get into the details of what that workout would look like. But we are partnered with Mind Pump. You're going to see some example links, affiliate links below in the description of this video. And there's some recommended workouts there. I strongly recommend that you take a look at their programming. Their programming is excellent, and it is designed for entry level people, for novices, or even intermediate lifters alike. And it's very friendly in how they present it. So I urge you to like take a look at those. I think Maps Anabolic is one that's very popular. Maps 15. Both of those are great entry level programs as you learn more and decide what approach you need for your resistance training. But again, going back to the basics, 2 to 3 times a week, full body, just about good for, I'd say, 90% of the population. And you'll get results if you do it properly. Movement patterns, let's talk about that. So instead of chasing like machines, you want to focus on mastering movement categories. So like squatting, hinge movements, like a deadlift, picking up stuff, the push, the pull, carry. These build real world strength and a balanced physique. So why the focus on these movement patterns? Because think about it. Things that you do every day. You lift a heavy object from the ground. That's a hinge movement. You squat down to I don't know, to like be able to like reach an object. So squatting is important. Pushing, you have to push an object across the room. Maybe you're moving something, a box. Pulling, you need to pull something out. Again, these are part of life, and these movements translate to stronger, better mobility for your everyday activities. So training those movement patterns and getting good at them and exercises that mimic those or help you with those is critical. And you need to approach all of them because you want to balance physique. You don't want to be that guy that's like super huge on the top with like the little bird legs, or the guy that's all legs and like has like little T-Rex arms either. I mean, if you're looking for like that balance, we're already training for resistance and you want to change your body recomposition and look jacked, toned, fit. Balance is part of this. Okay. It's not just for bodybuilders. Uh, and again, how many days to train? I'll reiterate, 3 to 4 sessions per week is plenty for results if you train with intent. Consistency beats volume every single time. Again, just like with diet, it's about consistency. It's better to show up 3, 4 times a week at maybe 80% capacity. You do what you can. Some days you'll have a great workout. Some days you'll have a terrible workout. Some days you'll have a mediocre workout. That's fine. But If you show up 3 or 4 times a week, that's better than being perfect once a week, because it's about consistency. It's about, think of it as a getting jacked back bank account, and every time you show up, you're putting money in that bank account. Okay, eventually it will build, but it will build if you keep putting money in it. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense. Next concept. This one's a tough one. It sounds easy, not so easy in practice. Progressive overload. The concept of progressive overload when you're weight training. If you're lifting the same weight for the same reps every week, you're not going to grow or change because your body will adapt to that stimulus. So you have to challenge your body with more load, reps, or intensity to see change. So as you progress, again, how to do this in detail, there's a million ways to approach this beyond the scope of this video. But know this: you will start with X amount of weight, X amount of reps, and you will ultimately want to consistently and constantly keep slowly increasing the reps, the weight, the intensity, so that your body has a new stimulus to adapt to and grow to and develop. And that's how you get big. That's how you get, like, your big arms and your traps and your shoulders and all that fun stuff. And that's how the body works. It adapts to that stimulus. But if you stop changing the stimulus, it'll just stay there. This is also the difference between, say, working out, the concept of working out, and just exercising, where you want to just kind of maintain where you are, versus, say, training for growth, training for hypertrophy, training for fitness, training for more muscle. Training has a vector, and that vector requires change and progressive overload in order to work. And that's the difference. That's training is constantly more and more and more as the body adapts, more and more and more, grows more and more and more. Uh, let's see. Gym anxiety. This is a problem for a lot of people. My wife struggled with this a lot at first. She's doing great now. But gym anxiety is a real thing. So don't be embarrassed. Everyone starts somewhere. One thing I will say: you will never find a better group of people who are more willing and non-judgmental uh, to help new people than regular gym goers. The big, muscle bound, humongous bodybuilder type is probably the nicest guy at that gym. It's probably the guy that's been there the longest. He started when he was little too. He was small. He was a regular human. He didn't get that way overnight. Okay. He wasn't born that way. He went to the gym and trained. He or she went to the gym and trained over and over and over, and became this version you see now over time. And most people who have gone through that process are very friendly to new people who are interested in the process. So consider that most gyms, uh, I mean, 99% of the people there are non-judgmental. They're not going to look at you in any way, shape, or form, like look down on you or judge you or anything like that. If anything, they're going to be reminded of where they started and very willing to help you as you undergo your journey of transformation. So keep that in mind. Now, I understand that some people are introverts. I'm an extrovert. I don't, this is not a thing for me, but I understand how it can be. So for other people, maybe a home option might be better for you, and then you take that stress out. I would encourage you to try the gym approach, just because you can learn from other people when you're in a social setting. And they can correct you if you're learning. So there's a certain advantage of being in that social setting. So again, things to consider. Again, if the gym intimidates you, you can start with bodyweight stuff at home. Push-ups, sit-ups. There's a million things you can do at home. And you can then transition when you're ready. Okay. When you're ready, like, okay, now I feel a little bit more comfortable, do that. But know that there are alternatives. But I would recommend, again, going to a gym, because they'll have equipment that you don't have at home. Um, and also the opportunity to learn from others who have done what you're learning is always there, which is always good. Last one: form over ego. We all struggle with this one, especially once you're past that beginner stage and now you're in that intermediate stage where you know enough to be dangerous, basically. Leave your pride at the door, okay? Injuries don't build muscle. So smart controlled reps are how you build muscle. So control the weight, learn how to do the movements properly. Again, this is the advantage of going to a gym with other people. If you can, hiring a coach, an actual coach to teach you form, the proper way to do things is invaluable. This is one of the reasons I respect CrossFit. It's not something I practice, but this is one of the reasons that if you choose that methodology, because there are certain advantages to a CrossFit approach or a group training approach, in the sense that you'll have community that can definitely help uh, motivate people. It's always a good approach. But the thing is, in a group setting, a coach may not have the time or ability to coach you in your specific movements. And when you're learning, when you're new, a lot of the movements that are used in, say, CrossFit type or circuit type training can be hard for a beginner to understand. You know, when you're doing snatches and presses and all that, these are very technical movements that require training. So be careful. Again, you know, every place is different, every coach is different, but be aware that there is a learning curve in how to do these exercises and these movements. So check your ego at the door, learn the form, be safe. Nothing will stall your progress more than an injury. And you don't want it to, when you're starting in this new path, to start with, like, you know, you get injured, then you lose momentum, then you don't get in shape. So keep that in mind. Again, form over ego. Learn the movements, practice the movements. It's a skill. You will get the skill. You just need to practice it. And that's perfectly fine. Okay, now, fourth area overview that's part of the plan in order to get, you know, jacked and to become a fit person: cardio. So let's talk about it. First, the benefits of cardio. Cardio isn't just about burning calories. Let's get that quickly out of the way. All right. It improves your heart, it improves your recovery ability, and it helps regulate your mood and hunger. So cardio definitely has a place with resistance training. I do both. Most people do a combination of both because they offer different benefits in different areas. So, another concept to understand: the difference between steady state versus HIIT, or high intensity interval training. So, steady state would be things like walking, cycling, usually low stress and easy to recover from, while HIIT is time efficient but harder to recover from. Think sprints, like, you know, 10 all out sprints, you know, with a small window to like catch your breath, and then you sprint again. Very intense. So when you start considering the cardio that you're going to use, you've got to use the right tool for your needs and schedule. What is it that you're trying to accomplish, and what is right for you? So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So the perks of fasted cardio. Let's talk about specifically fasted cardio when you first wake up in the morning. This is something I do every single morning. I do 20 to 30 minutes of fasted cardio at zone 2. So why do I do this? Because doing that relatively low intensity cardio in a fasted state, like a morning walk, if you start with the easy stuff, it can improve your fat oxidation and insulin sensitivity over time. These are things we want because in order to be fit, another thing that you have to consider is your hormonal balance and your insulin resistance, if any. Okay, these two factors are very important for your overall health. So, another thing that how I do it, like I mentioned before, it's you train to heart rate zone 2 conditioning, which will support cardiovascular longevity and mitochondrial health. Just don't expect to melt fat instantly, okay? We'll talk about that in a second. But it's very cardio protective to do fasted cardio in zone 2, like that 20, 30 minutes. It helps with, I think it's, I hope I'm not butchering this word in English, lipolysis, and moving around the fat that could eventually land and create plaque, calcium buildup, um, all of that fat, your cholesterol, and so forth. You want to be able to metabolize it as best you can, and fasted cardio is a very good way of ensuring that that happens, that you minimize that plaque buildup. So important as we age, for sure. Keep that heart healthy, keep those arteries working right. Let's see. NEAT. Let's talk about NEAT because that's your secret weapon. So, non exercise movement like walking, cleaning, standing more, all of that adds up big time. So increasing your need is a very sneaky way to boost calorie burn without taxing your body, without adding stress. So think about that, like your everyday movement stuff. Get up every, if you're in an office, get up every hour. Go grab some water. You need to hydrate, by the way. Hydration is very important for your overall health. Uh, Take a walk around your office for a minute. Just get up and go. If you're around the house and you're watching TV, every once in a while, just get up and I don't know, go check on the kids. Go go to the kitchen and grab a cup of water or something, or some green tea. I don't know. Get up often, move often. Don't shy away from that, okay? Because it adds up. All that everyday movement stuff, it absolutely adds to your calorie burn and it does not add to your stress. So take advantage of that when possible. So, how much is enough? Again, for the purposes of this video, high level, aim for 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. You always hear 10,000 steps. It's a great guideline. It's a great start. And maybe 2 or 3 cardio sessions a week as a baseline. If fat loss is your goal, cardio becomes more useful, but it's not a license to binge. You cannot cardio your way into eating more calories. That is a recipe for failure. Okay. And let's talk about common mistakes. Doing cardio to, like I was saying, to burn off food will create a very toxic and unsustainable cycle. So instead, use it to support health and performance while controlling your intake through diet. So when you hear that whole phrase, that cliche of the abs are made in the kitchen, that's absolutely true. You have abs. We all have abs. But if you want to see them, you're going to have to like diet down and lower your body fat percentage so that they'll show through. You're not going to crunch your way into having abs and then eat like pizza every day. Not going to happen. So things for you to consider. All right. The fifth pillar, and this one arguably is the least important. This is the one that moves the needle the least out of the 5 that we are discussing. But it bears mentioning because it's something that once you optimize for nutrition, for exercise, for cardio, and for weight training, once you have all of this and your rest and recovery, once you have those 4 optimized, these can be that like I mentioned before, that icing on the cake, right? Like this is where you can get a little bit of extra oomph or a little extra value. But paradoxically, this is the one that interests the most people, which is supplements, peptides, and extra modalities for health, right? This is where the quote unquote biohacking piece kind of shines more brightly. And people just love talking about this stuff. And yeah, I'll answer questions if you have them regarding this. I've got plenty of experience experimenting with all of these things. But let's talk about a few super basic things. First one, as far as supplements, peptides, extra modalities go, protein powder. So whey or plant-based protein can help hit your daily protein goals, especially post-workout or when meals are tight. It's not magical. It's just convenient. Yes, natural food sources will always, in my opinion, trump any protein powder. So your chicken, your shrimp, your red meat, whatever it is, whatever protein source you have that's natural whole food will always be better. It'll have a better protein profile, an amino acid profile. It'll be healthier. It'll also satiate you more. You'll probably be more full by eating those. But if you need to hit a protein target, like I'll do a protein shake every other day or so just to make sure that I'm hitting that protein target. Also, if calories are tight, arguably, some protein powders can give you a lot of protein for a lower caloric value. So that can help you maintain and keep your caloric intake while still hitting your protein. So again, you can game it, you can play with it. And there's a million different brands of protein out there. Thankfully, they're putting protein in everything now, maybe too much actually. But protein powders are definitely a tool to have in your arsenal so you can hit those protein goals that are critical for the nutrition pillar. The next supplement that I strongly recommend for most people, unless for some reason you're intolerant or allergic to it, is creatine. It's the most researched supplement in the world. Okay. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Creatine works. Okay. Creatine works, and it works not just for muscle building and fitness, but also for cognitive And even I believe there's some cognitive benefit uh, research and longevity benefits to taking creatine. So that's one that if you can, it's cheap. All you want is creatine monohydrate. It's simple. You don't need to get all into the creatine this added, but just get the plain old creatine monohydrate. Okay, 5 grams a day. All right. It supports strength, endurance, recovery, and even brain health, like I said. And 5 grams a day, every day. There's no need to cycle. There's no need to overthink it and preload it. Oh my God, if I hear one more influencer talking about how you need to like preload it with 20, no, 5 grams a day. You can add it to water or to a drink, stir it, knock it back, put it in, be done. Forget about the timing, just do it once a day. All right, keep it simple. Next, electrolytes, omega 3s, and magnesium. These aren't sexy, but they're super foundational. They support hydration, joint health, recovery, and stress resilience. So, if you go to your general practitioner, they'll do usually like a general chemistry test. You can always find out if you're deficient. Most people are deficient in magnesium. Magnesium helps with like I think it's bone support, sleep. It's got a variety of uses, and most people are slightly deficient. So you might check into that with your GP. If you are, definitely you want to add it. Omega 3s, anti inflammatory. They're great to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. Electrolytes just to keep everything going right, especially once you start exercising, sweating, etc. Keeping your electrolyte balance is important, and this is not very complicated. Electrolytes are just a matter of adding literally like a dash of salt to your water every once in a while. I'm not going to get into the details of that. You can Google it easy. But yeah, adding electrolytes, and it's cheap. I mean, Himalayan salt or whatever, add it to your drink every once in a while. Again, Google electrolytes and how to supplement with electrolytes. It's not difficult, okay? Nor is it expensive. All right. Peptides. Everybody loves peptides nowadays. So I'm going to mention a few, just the ones that I'm familiar with. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list in any way, shape, or form, but things to consider for a lot of people. Uh, so BPC 157, TB 500, GHKCU, those three. Peptides these are specifically for accelerating healing, improving recovery, or enhancing your skin and collagen health. They all do some of that. I'm not going to dive into the details. BPC, more for like, I guess, wound trauma repair, healing. TB 500 is more anti-inflammatory. Also, all three of these, by the way, work great synergistically together. GHKCU, skin, hair. Uh, these are all useful. They're not really beginner friendly. You can search more, and I'll create a video where we talk in detail about how to use these or how I would recommend you research these. But that's beyond the scope of this one, beyond the scope of this video. Just know that there are resources available that can help accelerate with your recovery or healing, should you ever be injured or anything like that. So those are very popular with a lot of biohackers. Let's just say that for BPC 157, TB 500, GHKCU. Like I said, it's a little bit beyond the scope of this, but these are peptides that I've researched and used personally to great benefit. Next, GLP-1s. Got to talk about the GLP-1s. Oh my goodness. I even have a guide here of how to diet or how to lose weight in the most healthy way with GLP-1s. You're welcome to check out that video. So peptides like semaglutide or retatrutide can help regulate your appetite and blood sugar. And these are advanced tools for later stages too, because you got to be careful. They're ideal for individuals with significant weight loss resistance or insulin resistance, but they are not a shortcut for being lazy. If you want to be healthy and utilize these tools, you have to do it the right way. And like I said, that guide dives into the details of how you do that. But let's just say that you will need to be very mindful of your exercise and your caloric intake and your protein intake in order to lose weight in a healthy way without losing that muscle that's so important and so health protective. So it's really important if you're considering working with a GLP-1. A lot of doctors, unfortunately, they just give you a prescription, they give you a shot, they tell you nothing about nutrition or exercise or lifestyle modifications to ensure your success. So please, please, please check up on that guy, do your research, find out the modalities and the things you need to do, lifestyle around GLP-1s so that you ensure your success. And that way you will be healthy and you'll be in great shape and get amazing results because they are very powerful and very useful tools. Retatrutide, tirzepatide are incredible. Incredible. I'm not a big fan of semaglutide. That's kind of like uh, old school, lots of side effects that you don't need and that you don't get with the other ones. So tirzepatide and retatrutide, that's the way to go. Next, cold plunges, sauna, red light therapy, getting a little bit more out there, right? So used right, they can support recovery, reduce inflammation, and aid stress relief. But if you're skipping meals and sleep for a 6 minute cold plunge, your priorities are backwards. Okay. Again, these are little rocks now. These are things that can aid some. Sauna 3 times a week, 20 minutes. Amazing for recovery, also for longevity. It helps get rid of senescent cells, for example, in the sauna. But you've got to have the big rocks, the big pieces of this in place to get those benefits. Again, if you're eating crap, if you're not exercising, if you're like 40 pounds overweight and insulin resistant, forget the sauna. Okay. You got bigger fish to fry and bigger things to do in order to improve your health. So be aware of that. Like, yes, these are modalities that are definitely helpful. Red light also. Red light therapy is great for skin and for overall health. Uh, Most people don't get enough sunlight. Even for your mood, there's some benefit. You've heard of, quote unquote, happy lights. But red light therapy is absolutely useful for any of these things. Scar tissue, for example, on your skin, which I've got a ton of. The red light has actually helped in a lot of ways. But again, the important things first: nutrition, rest, exercise, cardio. Gotta get those first, okay? Let's see. At last, and we kind of hinted at it: biofeedback tools, the Aura Ring, Apple Watch, things like that. They can offer insight into your sleep, your recovery, your metabolic response. And these tools are only as useful as the habits they help reinforce. So you have all this data, which is great, which you used to not have. Use the data. If you see that there's an issue with your sleep, find out what the issue is. Do you have sleep apnea? Do you have, I don't know, is your sleep hygiene not good? Is your quality of sleep worse than you thought it was? Maybe it's better. Who knows? But having all these tools and not utilizing the data is pointless. So if you want to have those tools, use them by all means, take advantage of the data and modify your plan and your behaviors accordingly so that you can have a better outcome. So again, now to recap, let's just summarize this whole thing. Fitness isn't complicated. It's a system of fuel, rest, training, movement, and optimization. Don't try to be perfect. Just be consistent. This is important. That way you can sustain your path. Consistency over perfection. You don't need the perfect program, okay? You need to do a decent program long enough to see results. And that's the real secret that all these fitness industry people and influencers won't tell you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to sweat the small stuff. Is it better to do an incline bench press or a decline bench press or a dumbbell press versus like a barbell press? Not important. What's important is that it's a workout that works for you, that's decent enough to get your results, and that you have to stick with it so you can get those results. Let's see. So, some closing thoughts. You want to help customizing this for your life? Join the Geeked and Jack crew. Check out our podcast. Shoot me questions at info@rise41.com or add them in the comments, like I said below. Be glad to help in any way, shape I can. I feel an obligation after doing what I did and learning about what I learned during my transformation to share this forward because it's not impossible. I thought it was going to be impossible. I'd never get there, but with consistency and training methodology, within a year, I was where I needed to be. You can do this too, okay? And I would exhort you, if nothing else, try these basics for 30 days. Give it 30 days, track your sleep, hit your protein, train 3 times a week, walk every day. Come back and tell me if you don't feel like a damn superhero by the time you're done. Because you will. You will. I guarantee you that if you follow these tips, again, consistently, doesn't have to be perfect, but consistently follow these tips, you will feel better. You'll do better. And I hope that this helps you. And if you're interested, like I said, check out the podcast, check out the different deep dives into different topics and subject matter. Get the free guide where I explain how to do this in more detail. And yeah, man, go out and become superhuman. Be the best you can be. And I hope it was helpful and informative. This is Gonzalo Herrero with Rice 41, and I am out. Have a great day.